The Galaxy A55 and the Galaxy S24 had a baby, and we have this phone, the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE. Jokes aside, the S24 FE is the latest fan edition phone from Samsung, which, as always, tries to bring a flagship Samsung experience at a relatively affordable price by compromising on a few stuff here and there. And if you look at the specs of the S24 FE, you will see that it's very similar to Samsung's Galaxy S24 in a lot of aspects. It starts at 60,000 rupees in India or some $650 in the US, which I know is a lot, especially considering you can get the regular S24 at a discounted price right now. But usually after a month or so, these fan edition phones get significant price drops. Just look at what price the S23 FE was launched last year and what price it is currently selling. Anyway, let's talk about the design first. And here, the Galaxy S24 FE looks and feels like every other Samsung phone. It's got the same traffic light shaped camera design and the same flat frames for a bold look. I appreciate that you get the Gorilla Glass Victus Plus protection on both sides now, which is a big upgrade from Gorilla Glass 5 that we saw on last year's S23 FE. This thing is also IP68 dust and water resistant, as you would expect from a flagship Samsung phone. And I love how Samsung has made the S24 FE's edges just curved enough for a more comfortable hands-on feel. Although the hands-on feel of this phone is not as good as what you would get with Samsung's flagship phones. If I have to explain how this one feels exactly, I would say that it's a more refined version of the Galaxy A55 with a glossy back and aluminum frames. Anyway, just like the design, there are a little bit of compromises on the display on the S24 FE as well. First thing you will notice are these thick and uneven bezels on the S24 FE, and if you keep it side by side with the S24, you will instantly spot the difference. The S24 FE's peak brightness is also pretty low in comparison, 1900 nits versus S24's 2600 nits. And I noticed this a few times when watching HDR videos on Netflix, mainly with how both of these phones processes the highlights. Now, don't get me wrong, in regular everyday usage, it's not that big a deal, so I wouldn't worry so much about it. In fact, the outdoor visibility here is adequate, and the color reproduction, the smoothness, and even the speaker quality of this guy is top-notch. The only thing that's kind of been bugging me is that I wish Samsung had gone with an ultrasonic fingerprint reader this time around. The S24 FE has the same old optical sensor, and unlocking it still takes a little moment longer than I'd like. The S24 FE also does not have an LTPO panel, which means instead of automatically switching between 1 to 120 Hz to save power, the S24 FE can juggle between 60 and 120 Hz only. But despite that, the battery life here isn't half bad. Under moderate use with a little bit of everything, I was constantly getting anywhere from 6 to 7 hours of screen on time, which can be considered decent. You also get support for 15-watt wireless charging, although the S24 FE is stuck with the same 25-watt charging speeds, which means it can take an hour and 40 minutes for a full refill. Okay, let's talk about its performance now. And even though this is a fan edition phone, Samsung has gone with a not so fan favorite Exynos chip here. So this thing is powered by the Exynos 2400E, which is just a slightly downclocked version of Exynos 2400 on the S24 series. And based on all the benchmarks that I ran, I found that the Exynos 2400E scores somewhere between 4 to 5% lower than the regular Exynos 2400. To be honest, I would have much preferred to have a Snapdragon chip here, maybe the Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 or even the 8 Gen 2, but I've got to say the Exynos 2400E is plenty reliable in everyday use, so I don't mind. Everything feels smooth on the S24 FE. I could multitask between a bunch of apps at the same time as well. The only downsides of this Exynos chip is it gets warm a bit faster than I would like, especially when I am doing something demanding like recording videos or using mobile data for a long, extended period of time. I wouldn't exactly call it a heating issue, but that's something you definitely need to know. As for gaming, if you're okay with lowering the graphics settings a little bit, then the S24 FE also games quite nicely. Almost as good as the S24 actually. I was getting a perfectly playable 58 FPS on average on Genshin Impact at medium graphics, while I enjoyed playing PUBG and Mobile Legends at high FPS too. Samsung says it has used an 11% larger vapor chamber cooling this time, and I am pretty happy with its thermals during gaming. It only reached like 40 to 41 degrees in all of my gaming tests. Moving on, the S23 FE's software game is also top notch. One UI remains one of my favorite Android skins, and Samsung has included all the AI features that you get on Samsung flagship phones like Circle to Search, Live Call Translate, Sketch to Image, and everything else. And there are also 7 years of OS and security updates to look forward to here, which is just incredible. Oh, and one important thing that I forgot to mention is the haptics here are good. But it's nowhere near as good as the S24. So it seems like Samsung has gone with a cheaper vibration motor here. Alright, now I want to talk about its cameras, and I have good news in that aspect. I found that like 80 to 90% of the time the S24 FE can take perfectly good looking photos from all of its cameras as the Galaxy S24. The S24 does win in terms of things like white balance and dynamic range, especially in challenging conditions. But yeah, the S24 FE is a damn fine camera phone. It captures a great amount of details, and as always, Samsung's color game is on point. I, however, found its ultra-wide-angle camera to be a bit weaker than I expected. It has the same 12 megapixel resolution as the S24, but it simply can't maintain the same amount of details, which maybe is because the S24 FE's ultra-wide-angle camera has a smaller sensor size and smaller pixels. This is even more apparent during low-light shots, but the trick is to turn on night mode, which drastically improves the images. In terms of human photos, these two phones handle the subject's skin tone somewhat differently, but overall I am happy with the selfies and portraits from the S24 FE as well. Both of them can shoot 3x portraits, by the way, thanks to a dedicated 3x zoom lens, although you should know that the S24 FE has a wider 75mm focal length, so its images appear more zoomed in. When it comes to videos, the Galaxy S24, however, has a clear advantage since it can record up to 4K 60fps from all of its 4 cameras. While with the S24 FE, 4K 60fps is only possible with the main camera and the selfie camera. Regardless, the S24 FE can take great videos overall. The S24 once again has a nicer white balance and also slightly better microphone quality, but the S24 FE's video quality is still much better than most phones that we can get in this very price segment. Okay, so let's wrap it all up now, and if we consider the price drop somewhere in the future, you will be pretty impressed with the Galaxy S24 FE. Let's say the price drops to like 40,000 Indian rupees or $400. For that price, the S24 FE definitely offers flagship smartphone experience at a not so flagship price. But right now, the S24 FE's price is a bit on the higher side, so I just can't recommend you buy it right now. So just wait for its price to drop like what happened with the S23 FE. At its current MSRP, phones like the Galaxy S24, the Pixel 8 and the iPhone 15 are a much better buy instead. Or if you can increase your budget, I've even seen the Galaxy S23 Ultra go on sale for like 75,000 rupees every now and then. So that's another great option for you to consider. Alright everybody, that was all for my full review of the all-new Samsung Galaxy S24 FE. If you have any questions about this device, just let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notifications icon. Saying this, I'm Pratima and I will be back in my next video.